So I've got a ton of yellow wires here. I know it looks insane, but I was trying to set up the alternator, but it's spewing oil so bad that I can't even sync timing. Look, it's slinging it all across. It's so bad that it's throwing oil all the way up here. I mean, there's not, like, look, it's slinging oil onto the fender. So I don't know what else I could do at this point. Here's the fuse box that we purchased for the E30. Now this fuse box is from True Mods. We're not a dealer for these guys. They sell them on Amazon. This setup was like 50 bucks, right? And so we really only need 4 relays, but this kit comes with 6, obviously, and they're all fused and labeled. Now here's the reason why I bought this one and not like other cheaper ones on Amazon. So other ones on Amazon, they're all high side activation, meaning that your switch has to provide power to turn this on. Now keep in mind, ECUs are generally low side, meaning that the ECU grounds the relay to get it to activate. So that's the reason why I chose this. I chose this simply because that the relay wiring is you can choose high or low side. So basically it's only the fuse power is pre-wired, and then everything is nicely labeled here. So like the label is like some type of rubber material here, right? And it's all looped, and even the fuses have that same label. So that means that fuse 1 connects to relay 1 and all that. And then while yes, it is a bit excessive just because we only needed 4 relays, but it doesn't hurt to have extras. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna tuck away 5 and 6. I'm simply just going to wrap it up and then zip tie those wires out of the way. I'll go ahead and I'll hook up the fuse power so we have them, but there's no reason to actually have the rest of it hooked up. All right, so I think we're going to mount the relay box in this general vicinity. So we've got this old nasty fuse relay stuff that they hooked up all goofy. We got this random single fan relay here. So the only thing that's like really in the way over here is the boost control solenoid. I'm not sure why they P-clamped it like this. And we have this O2 sensor, which is actually the wrong sensor for the Max, which is not a big deal, but I think we're gonna mount it somewhere along here. I'm gonna go ahead and start removing all of this junk stuff here. This green wire is for the fuel pump wiring here. So I know that for a fact. I tested it out here. And then there's a couple other power wires here that are just kind of dangling here that aren't going to be used anymore. So I'm gonna go ahead and just undo all of this and just remove it all is my plan. So they had this as like a main relay, and then this is a fuel pump relay. But like I said, we're gonna get rid of all this because it's not needed. I'm not sure where the rest of this wire is going, but we're not going to mess with it just because that in order to figure that out, it's all tucked down there. So we're not going to do any of that. All right, so we're probably going to mount the fuse box here. The problem that we're having is that there's a massive oil leak on the car that I can't even do anything with. So I'm going to wrap it up as best as I can. The customer knows that there's no way that I can really clean any of this up in terms of like how to tuck the wires and run everything. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to temporarily wire everything up. And then once I get it all done, or once I get my side done rather, he's going to pick the car up, take it to the engine builder, and have the engine builder fix whatever needs to be fixed. And then at that point it'll come back here. So essentially what all I'm wiring is going to be main relay, ignition relay, fan relay, fuel pump relay, and the engine start is all I'm going to do for now. And truth be told is I'm gonna do it pretty shittily. I'm gonna try to label everything as best as I can, but again, there's not really much I can do, not with how bad it is. With that being said, I've got some holes. I've got a hole drilled. I'm waiting for some grommets to show up in here. I plan to drill it slightly larger once I get my step bit here. That way I can put a grommet in it and pass the wires through for the fuse box. And then while I am waiting for that though, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on working on the AIM wiring. I've got the power set up for it, so now it's just a matter of wiring up a CAN bus here. I'm just gonna retain these 2 wires and wire it into the CAN connector here. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the AIM software here, since it took a little bit for me to kind of understand what was going on. So once you get it hooked up to Race software, or Race Studio rather, you actually have to receive from the display. Once you receive from the display, you can set it up here. This menu will come up, and from here you can change your CAN stream or ECU stream or display. But this is why I think it's inferior to the ADU here. So as you can see, I've added TPS throttle position here, right? So this is where it's set up. Now I have to save it, and I want you guys to look here. As you can see, that nothing is set up over here. Okay, so in order to go back to get that set up here, I have to actually transmit it here, and it's going to transmit, and you see the progress bar down here. And so I like TPS set, so that way I can like hit the throttle live to make sure that it's actually working. And as you can see, it's still transmitting. So you've got to make all your changes all at once, and then it'll reboot here. And we're gonna look at on the max ECU side, and let's take a look at where our TPS is actually set up at here. 54.1, and you can see I can step on the throttle, and now it's actually working. So setting this up is a bit harder than the ADU. It takes a little bit to understand, but once you get it, it's not so bad, I guess. Okay, so now I have this set. This is manifold pressure. I have it doubled up here for some stupid reason. I have the TPS set and then intake air temp. This should have been coolant temp though, not manifold. So now I have to go through this all over again and set this up. So this one here is engine coolant temp. Now we have to save this, and then we go back to our configuration and we'll transmit and we'll let it do its thing, and then I'll come back here after it's done. Okay, so now it's done, it's booting back up, and as you can see, we've got temperature where it should be now, and it's all working as it should be. Okay, so we got the ignition barrel wiring done. There's these two yellow wires. One goes directly to the max. This yellow wire actually is for the starter. This one is 12 volt ignition. We're gonna use this to trigger on the relays over here. So we're gonna have the main relay to the ECU is going to also provide the key on power to the rest of them. Okay, so this is going to be a little bit confusing, okay? I know there's a lot of wires going everywhere. So this blue wire coming out of the relay is actually our output wire. I made a mistake and joined this to yellow, so we're just ignore that for now. I'll explain that in a second. So either way, this blue wire, when the relay activates, it sends power to the max ECU to turn the ECU on, plus it powers the other relays. So what I mean by power is that it sends the key on signal to the relays, and then when the ECU grounds it, it'll activate the relay. So I know relays are really confusing, and this whole mess here is not making it any easier for anybody, but relays are basically switches, right? So you've got 4 pins. So if you look on this diagram here, this one on the far left at 9 o'clock is 85, then 3 o'clock is 86, and those are a switch. So you apply power and ground to each pin, it doesn't matter which is which, and then it activates the switch. From there it connects 12 o'clock and 6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock generally is your fuse power, and then 12 o'clock is your whatever you're powering on. So this switch has to come on before it supplies power there. And so what's happening is that when this switch gets activated, it sends power here, turns on the max ECU, and it gets the other pins ready on the relay to get grounded by the ECU to turn everything on. So hopefully that made sense. Probably not. If it doesn't make sense, let me know and then we'll work it through. All right, it's not my proudest work, but so far it seems like it's working. I heard the fuel pump priming, the ECU obviously is online. So the only thing that I really need to check for is going to be the fan output. So I think if I do this number here, no, maybe not. Disable fan when engine off, no. Turn this to 10. So the fan should be running. Run fan on AC, disable fan when engine off, no. Or maybe the fan is running, I just can't hear it. Okay, fan is not running. All right, let's find out why here. All right, well, this isn't a good look. So I found out why. It's actually because the street doesn't have enough outputs to run the fans. So that's pretty ridiculous there. So, well, I guess that's that. So we're gonna have to look at what general purpose outputs we have here on the street ECU to see what we can repurpose for fan control. So we only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We only have 5 outputs, and so the only one that's left over is 8. So I wonder if we can repurpose 8 for fans. Okay, so we can repurpose 8 to fans. However, it says switch to, oh yeah, switch to ground. So we should be good to go there. I just got to find out where general purpose output 8 is going to be at and on the wiring harness, and then go from there. That's pretty whack though. Okay, so general purpose output 8 is on the 16 pin connector. So I'm going to update this fan 16 pin. That is what they call where's it at? E, pin 4E. And then we'll go ahead and update this from 6 to 8. Okay, so that should be just a relatively quick rewire. Go ahead and turn the key off so the turn signal stops, and then we'll move some pins around. So that means that the fan wiring is actually on this pin right here. Not a huge deal, just got to move it over. I don't know if the connectors are the same or not. Hopefully they are, or the pins rather. So let me get on this. All right, so we got everything moved over and I tested it, and I can actually hear the fan running. You guys may not be able to hear it because our swamp cooler is running, but I can definitely hear the fan. So it all working. Definitely not my best work by any means, but whatever. Okay. So it runs. All right, so we got everything together. Fires right up. So that's that. We're done. Not my best work over there, but it is done, and it's ready for him to pick it up and get it fixed and bring it back. So nothing else I can do here but clean up and let him know that it's ready. All right, so I'm doing some cleaning up. I've got to clean up the inside of the E30, obviously, since we just got it started last night. So I'm gonna go ahead and hop in this thing and see if we can get it a start on my really untuned map, and then back it out so I can clean it up the rest of the way for him to pick it up today. Oh goodness. So let's see how how this car runs, or how it, if it runs at all, rather. Yes. Okay, let's see if we can adjust this seat though, because I'm a short guy. Make sure it's not in gear. Well, that's not a good look. It's not going into gear. I don't know if the seat's too far back. If you guys ever come here for me to work on your cars, just know that I'm short. Oh. Okay, yep. Definitely doesn't like to go into gear. So, okay, let's figure this out real quick. All right, it's popping out of reverse. I gotta hold it in gear to get it out though. But as you see, it's moving on its own. All right. Woo. So we got it moved on its own, which is cool. It's also leaking, just to give you guys an idea. Me starting it and backing it out, that's all the oil that it's losing, and this is from the little bit of drive time that I've had on the car. But it moves on its own, so yay. So this is really for reference for me, but for anybody else who wants to run the max ECU terminated harness for M50 on an M52 engine. So the things that you are going to need are the E30, all these parts are from an E36, but you'll need the E36 coolant temp sensor, you'll need the cam sensor and crank sensor, and they were specific, so I had to order them for, I believe, a 92 and below instead of a 93 and above, because they are different. I found that out the hard way. Then they are designed for EV1 style connectors, so if you're running EV14, be prepared to buy adapters, and they are set up for Audi R8 coils. So definitely cool setup, and pretty straightforward really. So unfortunately that's it for this one. He's got, as you guys know, he's got a very bad oil leak, so it's got to get fixed. Unfortunately, I am a little embarrassed that this is about to go to another shop and they're going to see all this and they're going to think that this is like the standard work that we do. Hopefully they watch this video and they know that it's not. But that's that for this one. Hopefully you guys really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the challenge and I enjoy working on it for the most part anyways. So definitely fun. Can't wait to get it back here to get it all wrapped up and actually on the dyno. So on to the next.